Okay, well, it's 8:30. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. My name is Mary Metzler. I am the Educational Director for the Maryland Council on Economic Education. Welcome to our second virtual conference. Next year, we're hoping to have an in-person conference. We're actually looking at a two-day conference, and so here we go. So what we're going to do this morning is, in this particular section, is focus on some of the MCEE programs and resources. Teachers have told me that they want to learn more about the MCEE programs from the perspective of the teachers. And two of our teachers have brought along students who are going to also present like what they have received from this experience. Our first speaker is going to be Dr. Maddie Halbaugh. She's with the Applications Research Lab. Her team for the Personal Finance Challenge actually finished second place in the national competition this year. She's going to talk about her experience with her students playing the stock market game. We also have from Charles Herbert Flowers High School, Shatrice Wright. She had a student in the fall place in the top level for InvestRight. Then joining us later this morning will be Julius Presleski from Mount St. Joe's. He had a team go to the national competition for the Personal Finance Challenge last year, and they finished in the top 5. And then last, we will have Van Prime from Mount Hebron High School. He has 2 teams for the Econ Challenge. Both teams have won the national challenge 3 years in a row. So I want to welcome our teachers, and we're going to keep this session informal. There's no formal PowerPoint presentations or anything. I think we've all had enough of that this year, but they're going to explain what the different programs are, the program that they're going to talk about, and how they run it in the classroom, the benefits for the students, and Dr. Halbaugh will start off, and she's going to actually brought a student along with her. So Maddie, would you like to take over?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Maddie Halbaugh. I'm from the Academy of Finance program in Howard County. Welcome all to our panel discussion, and I hope you get information out of it that you can apply to your classes. I've played the stock market game now for, I've got to say, 14 years or so, if not longer, with my students. I find it really beneficial in lots of ways. One of the things I find is that it's super engaging for the students to play it. They look forward to it. And I play along with them, so it becomes a challenge within the classroom to try to beat me, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And I implement it during my Principles of Finance and Financial Planning part units. How I do this, Mary had given me some questions to respond to, so I'm just going to respond to them. How I do this is I let them select their teams, and I usually do teams of 4, but depending on the class size, sometimes 6. I find 4 is valuable because everyone has to engage. If you have 4 students, they all have to play a role. And the curriculum I use is Stock Market Game curriculum or Stock Market for Life textbook. Both of those are really good. The Stock Market for Life is like a $4 download. And if you look on Amazon for it, it's really good. It does have all the answers in the back of the book. And when I started doing Stock Market Game, I didn't know a lot about the stock market. I just vaguely knew about it. And so what I did is I learned, well, the students learned using the lesson plans from Stock Market Game as well as Stock Market for Life textbook. Those two things really helped me to understand the markets, and it was okay to fail with the students. You know, I mean, I think sometimes as teachers, we tend to want to have everything perfect and us be the most knowledgeable in the classroom, but we don't necessarily have to be that. And so I learned and grew with them. And sometimes I only had $60,000 in my portfolio at the end when I first started. One of the things I think that the stock market did for me personally was not only help me understand how the markets function, but help me also learn to invest myself. And that was really helpful for my own financial well-being. So I do encourage you guys to play it. Don't let it intimidate you. The lessons are really good. You can walk through them and learn how to do it. And learn with the students is what I say is the most fun about it, because some of them come in with a lot more knowledge than I did when I first started. So my advice to you is to start it, have fun with it. I did it usually at first, I would spend about 2 weeks on how to, or maybe up to a month, on how to evaluate a stock, what is a stock, what is a bond, what is a mutual fund, how to trade, those kinds of things. And then after we got going in it, it would be like a once a week thing where they'd join together with their teams once a week and discuss what they want to purchase, what they want to sell, how their portfolios are doing. And I usually did this along with a document that they had to complete about what they've learned, why they sold something, why they bought something. So I could see the rationale behind what they were purchasing. And the first thing I did with them was for them to create an investment philosophy, a philosophy that allowed them to understand where their limits were, when they should sell, when they should buy, etc. Along with that, I also did the Invest Right, and I found that to be valuable for the students to be able to document their knowledge and what they were learning through stock market game. I want to introduce you to one of my students. And Marsha, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I don't want to butcher your last name, but I've been practicing it all morning and I still don't think I have it right. So I'm going to let you do it. And everyone, here's one of my seniors that graduated this year, just an awesome student. And I'm so proud of her. So go ahead, Marsha.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the warm introduction, Dr. Hallback. Really means a lot to me. So my name is Mary, or Masha Sankwalawa. And I participated in the stock market game in three separate times. So 3 different sessions in my junior and senior years. So this prior year, 2020, 2021, and in 2 different sessions in the previous year, 2019 and 2020. I graduated from the HCPSS ARL Academy of Finance program this year, and I will be attending the University of Maryland Smith School of Business this fall. So as for what did I get out of this program? So I would say I had a very positive experience and one that I would highly recommend. And so essentially what I got out of it is that after each of the sessions, I got progressively more realistic about how I'd invest in the real world and with my own money. So in the first session, we participated with a team. So after Dr. Hallback went through the curriculum and all right, what's a stock, what's a mutual fund? I personally didn't go in. I went into the class knowing a little bit about mutual funds and a little bit about retirement investing and 401ks and stuff like that, but not really anything else. But our team decided to do something called shorting 3 times leveraged inverse short-term securities, and it's a mouthful because it really is a mouthful. So we were doing great for the longest time. We were first in the state. We were doing amazing. We had amazing returns. And then And then, so it actually happened to fall around the COVID-19 pandemic and like the huge sell-off that happened. So one fine morning, I open up my phone to see, all right, like how are investments doing? And we realized 500% in losses, which amounted to around $600,000. So we just lost $600,000. And looking back now, like I reacted like, okay, well, we lost $600. Whoopsies, guess we're not first in state anymore. We were actually last, by the way, and we didn't get out of that because margin doesn't let you like invest anything. Like once you're out of margin and then you've sold everything, it's just, yeah, we were in debt essentially. So next time I did the stock market game, it was individual. And I realized, okay, I don't want to short because I found that the risks are too great for the returns that I might get. So what I did was I did 3 times leverage again, but instead of shorting, I did like regular long. So I was like buying long. They were also short-term securities. That worked out a lot better than the first round. I made 15% in around 10 months, ended up 8th in the state division. So I was very pleased about that. But that was a lot of short-term trading. So I was like constantly checking my phone. I was like, all right, how's this investment doing? All right, do I want to sell? Do I want to buy? Like all about that timing. And then the third time, which was this year, my senior year, this was with a team. So that experience was closest to how I'd invest now. So each team member was responsible for a different sector. So I was IT, someone else was consumer discretionary, consumer staples, etc. And that experience was when I actually got to implement all those different things that we learned at the very beginning. So what I loved about the stock market game is that it offers students the opportunity for experimentation. Like the first and second rounds, I would kind of just did our own thing and like tried all these crazy things, and it was really fun. But most importantly, the stock market game offers opportunity of implementation of what I learned in class. So like the diversification and the dangers of shorting. Dr. Hallbeck taught us that, but sometimes it's really best to learn on your own and get burned, so to speak, with play money and not your real money. So that in the real world, you can go on, all right, I actually know how bad shorting can get. And I know how good shorting can get. And also, I know that diversification is really actually the best way to go in terms of like a long-term retirement plan. So I really got in that last round, I would say specifically, I got to implement everything Dr. Hallbeck taught, like stock selection, diversification, asset allocation, etc. And this was a highly stimulated, like it felt real. And it was a really competitive environment because we were against our classmates and we were trying to beat them. But it's really learning driven. And even if you make a mistake, you feel that you made the mistake, all right, oh yeah, that was a mistake, like you recognize it. But in the end, it isn't your money that suffers. And then so what I learned in the stock market game actually really connected to how I did on the Invest Right. So I entered the Invest Right competition my first semester, my junior, my second semester. My second semester, I wrote about everything that I learned in like the first iteration of the stock market game, like the shorting, negative 500% loss, etc. So I wrote my essay based on that experience, and the prompt that year was actually like, what investment portfolio would you choose for the next 5 to 10 years? So it was perfect. And then so coming straight off of that 600 grand loss, I wrote about how portfolios is meant to be really sustainable, and like the main goal investing, it should be for long-term goals. It should be for long-term capital appreciation. And the goal of that is like retirement planning. It's like your own personal goals. And like from both of those experiences, I realized that short-term investments can be great. It can be like a really like a good, like a adrenaline rush if you're in the mood for that, but only when you have an established long portfolio and no way with 100% of your free income. So like your retirement portfolio, and then there's like a little bit for all the fun stuff.
One thing I have to say, Marcia, thank you very much, is I think one of the downsides of the stock market game is you are playing short. If you can play the full year game, you get to see you can plan a little bit differently. And so, Marcia, I appreciate your comments about losing the $600,000 and choosing, having your strategy. I had a team that was last in the state because they chose betas over 2, and it just backfired on them. So what's great about the stock market game is you can play it. It's not real money, and you did experiment. So that would you did experiment. It wasn't real money. I should point out that in our last session today, we are going to actually walk through 2 of the lessons that Marcia actually mentioned. One of them is what is diversification. So I think this is a nice segue to our next speaker, Shatrice Wright. She's with Flowers High School, and I have Shatrice had a student who placed in the Invest Right competition. And I was so glad to hear that your students participated. I felt like it was a great asynchronous activity. So we're looking forward to hearing your perspective on how you used, how you worked the Invest Right into your class this year.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shatrice Wright, and I am a business teacher at Charles Herbert Flowers, which is in Prince George's County, Maryland. And this year, this is about my 10th year playing the stock market game, but only my 2nd year involving my students in Invest Right. Now, we've always been able to use the journals, which is a huge part of preparation for Invest Right, the journals that come along with the curriculum in the stock market game. And those are a great way, great tool to work in infusing literacy across the content. And that's one of the things that our county has been working on for the last few years. So as we take on the stock market game, the journals were just amazing help as we allow students to, just kind of put into words the actions that they were displaying in the game. It also gave students an opportunity, because of course we work with teams on the stock market game, but it gave students an individual display of showing what they were able to master with the stock market game. So it increased student participation in that area. And then it just, offered a different lens of them being able to share their knowledge of the stock market game. We have a literacy design team, and the journals came a part of us building or scaffolding toward that prompt. And so looking at the Invest Right prompt for this year, there were quite a bit of journals that pulled out individual students' ideas about their portfolios and identifying things with their different companies. And I just thought that was super easy. And like you said, the asynchronous assignments on Wednesday, it also gave a lot of students, sometimes, everyone wasn't present during some of the stock market activities, just because we were in a virtual space. But it gave all students an opportunity to have that assignment and kind of recap and share. So it was perfect this year, if not any other year. And so once we identified what that prompt would be, we started unpacking that prompt and using it as we would with any other prompt, and scaffolding and doing different parts at different times. And of course, I was not able to submit all of the essays that were turned into me, but of the ones that I did do submit, well, most of them were aligned with what we asked for, but the ones that I did submit, I felt were a good display of what the students not only got from their portfolios and the companies that we asked them about, but a good way of correlating them, of course, with their everyday life. So it was perfect for us, not just in the virtual space, but also along building with our literacy task that we have here in the county with infusing it across all curriculum. So I would encourage it totally. It took about 8 years. I said I did the stock market game for 10 years and just the last 2, and that's right. It took about 8 years to kind of even get to that piece. You're unpacking and digging into so much of SMG. But if you are in the beginning beginning stages, I would look at it right away because it's a good tool on the side. Even if you're not competing in Invest Right, it's a good assignment and a good way for your children to, you know, like I said, display and participate.
Shatrice, I have a question for you. Do you teach do you play the stock market game and Invest Right in a particular class? Do you like accounting or principles of business, or what class do you use it
So
in?
I first started off, and this is my 10th year, but this is my third school. So I started off stock market game with an accounting program under the Academy of Finance at Suitland High School. And then I moved to Dr. Henry A. Wise High School, where we did it as a club, actually. It was already there at the school when I got there through the social studies department. So I did it as a club, and then I came to Dr. Henry A. Wise, Charles Herbert Flowers High School, where I started it with my entrepreneurship students, where some of the students had interest in trading. And then this year I actually did it, and the winner came out of our financial literacy course. So Maryland has infused the financial literacy component for our high school students, and this was my first year teaching that particular course. And the stock market game, of course, is a perfect component for that course. And then, of course, Invest Right went along with that course. So we've kind of, you know, spread the stock market game over a few curricula, and it's just been great in all of those components.
Can you tell everybody what your student received?
He received well, of course, the school got the banner. He received a certificate, and if I'm not mistaken, did he receive some money?
I think he did receive some money. I'm not sure how much, but he did receive some money.
So the team came out, as you know, to our school to present. Talbert was his name, with his gifts, and it was the first day that we actually opened up for students in the building. So it was kind of chaotic. While we didn't have a lot of students, we were just all so nervous about how the day would go. Just having students in the building, adults in the building, and then guests in the building, and so we were kind of rushing in and out. And the team was great and gracious with the gifts they gave Talbert, but we also gave Talbert a gift card, and then a representative from our county business education office came and presented. So I wasn't sure how to sort out what he actually got, but he was very appreciative. His parents were just ecstatic about it, because they had never heard of the stock market game and really weren't aware that their child was involved in this. It seems like he just kind of did his work and didn't necessarily share with the parents, but they were really, not only his parents, but his other teachers. I shared Talbert's success with his other teachers as I had them sign a card, and they were just, you know, taken by not the fact that he won, but the fact that we did such a thing. So they were really intrigued by Invest Right. And the principal was just saying, you know, how great that was, because like I said, it is our attempt to infuse literacy. And so the Invest Right is a really good opportunity to do that, because it increases student participation, and it allows all the students to do something. Because sometimes in the groups, you know, you have your more dominant students, but here is an individual assignment that they can really convey. And then you can see what they know, not just vocabulary, but they are really correlating it with the everyday life. And that's super. So it's an amazing tool to have.
Well, I want to thank you. We do for your participation. We don't have the winners for the spring Invest Right. So Invest Right runs twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. They're different prompts each time. We don't have the winners yet. I know when we did stock market game training, I encouraged people to, you know, to look at this as a possible asynchronous activity for those Wednesdays, so that you didn't have to kind of really come up with something. I mean, it was already there. You just had to the implementation part. So I appreciate your comments, and
and I would definitely, don't forget to encourage teachers to use the journals as a way to prepare them to the Invest Right.
That's right. So we're going to do a little transition. Trace just mentioned personal finance. Joining us from Mount St. Joe's High School in Baltimore is Julius. I don't see Julius on my screen, so I'm assuming he's here. And he's actually teaching a class right now. He has his students busy, and he's a personal finance teacher. So Julius, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I see you now. Okay, great. So tell us about how you have, although we have Dr. Halba, who also is heavily involved in the personal finance challenge, as well as your school, you guys have been kind of going head to head the past couple of years, and in the state competition. So we wanted to invite you to come talk about your experiences with the personal finance challenge.
Yeah, Mary, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Hope everybody gets something out of this because we have a lot of fun with it. I started about 5 years ago. We got an elective course in personal finance in the school. We've built it out now to a mandatory 1 semester course. So everybody has to take the course somewhere between their sophomore year and senior year. So what I did is I just decided when I saw this through MCEE to get 2 teams involved. So I kind of went and handpicked our kids, kids who I think are probably going to be business finance majors in college. So like I said, we have 2 teams. I also have an honor section of my class and a college prep section. So typically a lot of my honors kids, kind of just wanted to be a part of something different. So that's how I put my teams together. Normally we have an older group and a younger group because I found out that as they start out, they're not sure how much they're going to really need to know and how much you're going to have to kind of study and learn about topics maybe that we can't cover in my course. In a 1 semester course, we can't cover every topic. So I know like on the test this year, there were questions on maybe estate planning. We don't really have a lot of time to cover estate planning. So that's something I will do outside of the class where we'll meet as a group and we'll start working on terminology more than anything. So that's kind of how we got there, and we've done pretty well. We've competed pretty decently. I think we won it 2 years ago and made it to the national level and got, I think, to the top 15 in the country, which was a lot of fun. But it's competitive. It's a little luck of the draw, and you do your best. And I tell the kids there are prizes involved, money prizes. So they've won some money. I said, you know what, you're not going to win every year, but when you come out of it, you're going to learn a lot about personal finance and all the terminology, and that's really important to use in your life. I think you guys asked me like, what do the students get out of it? Like I said, I think it's knowledge. They like the competition. I'll do little quizzes in our little meetings with the kids. I use a site called Zogo Finance a lot, where this young student from Duke created a online site, ZOGO, and basically it's modules of multiple choice questions. And you literally can go through the modules in probably about 5 minutes. And he's got, I want to say there's 50 of them. And the kids have fun with it. They do it on their phone and we just go through them and see how much we can learn and how fast we can pick up on the terminology. I think you also asked Mary during COVID, what would we do? We met online. So we were online if we weren't in school. It's difficult being online because I think the kids were just worn out of FaceTime on a screen. When we were back in school, I met during what we call homeroom period. We have a free period for 20 minutes during the day. We would meet once a week. So that's kind of how I did my groups. And then I use notes. We have certain series of notes already pre-set up. I have quizzes I found over time online. Like I said, Zogo Finance is a great site. I use NGPF. We'll use their Kahoots and the quizzes, and we'll just give those and just go through as much terminology as we can. Again, sometimes kids will say, hey, we didn't really know much about estates. So for me, like that's a main topic for next year. I'm going to work on some terminology under estate planning. So if that shows up again next year, we're in a little better position. But again, yeah, sometimes luck of the draw. You don't know the questions. Sometimes you do and you guess them right, and may the best team win.
I have a question. Do you take your more advanced students and do they work with some of your younger students at all?
So we work, what I always do is when we start, I don't break them out into teams. So I don't tell them what team they're going to be on. I'll bring in usually the 8 kids, and I'll usually, like in the beginning of the year, I'll say, okay, I'm looking for, 6 new kids. We graduated 6 of them. We need 6 new students in the groups. We got 2. And then I kind of see who wants to do it and who's motivated. And I kind of tell them, hey, listen, we're meeting once a week. I'm going to have a Google Classroom set up. You're going to have to do these little quizzes on your own. Do you really want to do this? Are you committed? And here's what you're going to get out of it. You know, you're going to learn, you're going to have competition. We're hopefully, you know, do the competition at the site where you guys do a very nice job with lunch and all that. There's a chance to win money, but it's just competition. You know, if you really like business and finance, it may be something you really want to learn. And normally, you know, I only get 8 guys. I've never really had more. And then what I do is once we start taking quizzes, I kind of figure out who I think are the more intelligent kids and quicker and can answer those really hard questions that maybe they can, you know, read the question and figure out the answer. But I will tell you, it's a crapshoot. I've stacked the team where I put the best kids in one group, the next group down. It never works out the way you think. 2 years ago, I thought I had an A and a B team. My B team beat the A team, went to the nationals and made it to the top 15. I mean, and I don't know why. I look back at it and I'm thinking, geez, like I thought the other team was more intelligent than the other group, and they weren't. And for whatever reason, I think that second group was really motivated because I think kind of they knew at some point that they were kind of the B team, and I don't think they liked that. So I think they kind of pushed themselves to learn more, and they did great.
I should mention for people who aren't familiar with the Personal Finance Challenge, there's actually there's multiple parts. The first part is this year, the students took an online test. I think it was 30 or was it 50 questions? I can't remember. Yeah. Between 30 and 50 questions. We took out, I think we took out the bottom, the bottom question, the lower score of the teams, and we ranked the teams in that fashion. The top 5 teams then went on to do a case study. It was on a Saturday morning, and we did it virtually. It worked great. It worked very well this year. And so the students worked on the case study and then presented the case study to the group of judges, and the winning team. And it was a really tough competition this year. The winning team then went on to the national level, where they basically did the same thing again. They had a test. It was a nail biter because somebody's internet didn't work, and people were nervous about how it was going to turn out, but it worked out fine. And then again, the students participated in the case study. So you need not only the book smarts, but you also have to be able to present. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say, you know, that was a little bit of a change you guys did at MCE, because when we went to the nationals 2 years ago, you have to take another test to get to the final 15. And it was the same kind, multiple choice. I think they kicked out the low score out of 4 guys, made it. And then there was a case study they hit you with on like a Monday morning. You get to read the family scenario. You have 2 hours, an hour and 50 minutes to put together a PowerPoint presentation and to hit every topic and how to put that family in a better financial position. And then you have 10 minutes to present it. So this year, MCE did that, kind of preparing our whoever won to get to the next level. And I think it's good. I think it takes more work for the teachers. You know, if you're running a class, I would say somehow intertwine that case study into your class. So next year, my class, the honors level, their final project will be a case study in a group, and they will have to build it out and present it. So I'm already kind of weaving my class to help prepare those honors guys for that next level, because some of those guys will be on my teams next year. So yeah, I had to kind of tweak it too.
Right. I should also mention that we are going to be putting some additional resources on our website to help prepare the teachers for next year. And I'm going to, during the last 5 minutes of this session, I will show you some of the changes that we've made to our website in case you haven't been there. And we're making changes like every day. I'm making changes almost every day. Yeah. All right.
Mary, I would just say last thing, you know, if you want to do this, you can't take it personal if you don't win. It's not you. Your kids have to be committed. You know, like 1 year I had a great group. I think this year we had a lot of young kids, and I kind of felt like we were going to struggle and we didn't do as well. And it's fine. You know, you kind of go, okay, we didn't do as well. Why is it? And you kind of correct it. And I know my kids will be better next year because they're all going to be juniors. We had a lot of sophomores. And the sophomores, they're very young, competing and learning terminology at that level. So I wouldn't take it personal. Just let the kids have fun with it and let them go where they want to go with it.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. I know you need to get back to your students. So we're going to transition over to, thank you for joining us, to Van Prime. And he has brought along a student as well. And Van's students are, as I mentioned at the beginning, are 3-time winners of the National Econ Challenge. So Van, would you like to take it away? And Van's going to explain how he got how he works through the Econ Challenge with his students and the way they prep. So go ahead, take it away, Van.
Okay, thanks, Mary. I'm Van Prime, and I teach AP Micro and Macroeconomics at Mount Hebron High School in Howard County. And I also coach our school's National Economics Challenge teams. And I'm proud to say I'm here with my student, Sudarshan Sundar, who is a graduated senior off to Stanford University to study economics in some way or another. And Sudarshan is a 3-time national champion in the National Economics Challenge, which is beyond belief. He's also a medalist in the International Economics Olympiad, and he's going to tell you about student experiences in the challenge. I'm just going to give you a little background on the challenge. The National Economics Challenge is the country's only national competition in academic economics. And it has about 15,000 students, up to 15,000 students in a normal year, not in a COVID year, compete for up to the national prize. And actually there's an international component to it also that Sudarshan can tell you about, competing against teams from China, where Sudarshan and his teammates defeated them also this year. It's in 2 divisions. The one division is called the Adam Smith division, and that is for students who are in advanced placement classes or in international baccalaureate classes in economics. And the other division is for students who are in a general economics class, or in the case of our students, our youngest students have never taken an actual course in economics, even though they keep winning national championships. And as I'll tell you in a moment, that's down to students like Sudarshan teaching them. So yeah, these kids were really proud to say that we just last month won our 3rd consecutive dual national championship. That is, we won in both divisions. So 2019, 2020, 2021. We've been doing this since 2009 and have accumulated 16 Maryland state titles. We've made the national finals 9 times, 4 years in a row, actually, the past 4 years in both divisions. And we've taken a total of 6 national championships, plus we took a 2nd and 3rd in 2018, that is nationally. Also, by winning this, Mount Hebron has qualified as the United States representative team in the International Economics Olympiad, where in pre-COVID times, we actually traveled to Russia a couple of times to compete in that. Also, kids also win money at the national level. If they win, they get $1,000. So Sudarshan has raked up $3,000 in his lifetime, plus another $300 from the state level. So he's done pretty well. He'll need that to go to Stanford. I can just tell you that this is an incredible tool for motivating students to learn economics. It is the most powerful teaching tool that I've had. And another thing I think it's really important about Economics Challenge is that it's an outlet for our most gifted students. Because we have, at least at my school, I usually most years have about 130, 135 AP Economics students. Often we have spillovers into a couple of other classes. We've got a lot of kids taking econ. And I have to move, as we all know, as a teacher, I have to move at the pace of the student who is last in the class. And this is a way where we have an outlet for our most gifted students to learn at the college introductory level, but then pull it up to essentially their knowledge is the knowledge of a university undergraduate senior. They're really amazing. So really quick, just show the background of how we established teams. As I said, we started in 2009 and we had no idea what we were getting into. I think I got an email from MCEE saying, oh, you know, compete in the Econ Challenge. I thought, no, whatever. And right before the competition, I scooped up 4 of my students, very, very bright young men. And we just crammed for just a few days. We took the state level exam and actually qualified for the state finals. Back in those days, they had state finals. And that year we finished 2nd. So we thought, well, this is going to be pretty easy. The next year, we went to nationals. We placed in the top 6 in the United States. This is 2010. And we thought, oh, all right, we're going to do this every year. And then, of course, the way these things go, as Julius was talking about, there is 15,000 of the nation's brightest econ students. It's pretty hard to get to the very top regularly. So we didn't go back until 2018. Even though we had continued to win most of the state competitions, I think we've won almost all of them over the past few years with a couple of exceptions. Anyway, so we were asked to talk about how our program evolved over the years. What I have done is recruited really well. Initially, as students started to hear about the success of the program, the interest built up, and then we started making it much more competitive. And so we were initially only competing in the Adam Smith division, and we threw the doors open to any student who was in the AP Econ classes. It's wide open. Any student who wants to compete can compete. So we often start off with maybe 24 students competing, and then we just go through a series of tests. And over the years, we've lengthened the testing time. So now we begin at the very beginning of the year. I start doing placement tests, and we do about 10 placement tests throughout the year. It's very high pressure. The top 4 place for the A team, the team that's going to try to vie for the national championship. But we also, all the other students can and do compete at the state level also. And in 2014, we decided to start the David Ricardo, that is the team with the younger students. And this was brilliant, because what I've done is I've asked my senior students to teach these younger students. I just hand it over to them. And of course, we all know by teaching it, the senior students become much more expert in the field. The younger students learn, and it takes pressure off of me, because originally I used to teach all the courses, and now it's just kind of a self-perpetuating machine. So by recruiting the young students, very often we get students for 3, maybe 4 years in Econ Challenge, and they get all of that experience, all of that knowledge. And we recruit these younger students, and again, it's very competitive, just as Julius was saying. We actually go to the guidance counselors and we ask for the highest 20 PSAT scores, and we get the highest 20 GPAs. And then I go to my colleagues who've taught these younger students and ask them, okay, who stood out as a really gifted student, a really motivated student? Because they have to be self-motivated. It's really important. And now these younger students compete, and they get whittled down, and Suderson can tell you about that. All right, so how have we implemented this program? Well, in 2020, 2021, it was virtual. It was very different how we did it. It was also very important in the virtual environment that we did have very self-motivated students, because I can't just be there with them all the time. But in normal years, as I said, we spend the year prepping for a single test in April. There's an online test that qualifies teams for the Maryland State Championship in both divisions. And it is first past the post. That is, in both divisions, whatever team finishes first is state champion. All the others go by the wayside. So there's a lot of pressure there. Then those students who win the state championship move on to the national semifinals, which in a typical year is a paper test. And it's a competition against all the other state champions from around the United States. So again, very high pressure. In the past few years, the top 6 then move on to the national finals. And I'll ask Suderson to talk a bit about that, because it's really cool. They get an all expense paid trip to New York City, so does their teacher, where they then compete against the other finalist teams from the United States First, they take a paper test. Actually, Suderson, I'll ask you to pick up from here and talk about your experience in the state finals, or excuse me, in the national finals, and your television appearances on CNBC and so forth. But I'll finish with this advice for teachers who want to start a program. 1, recruit the best, most self-motivated students. 2, make it highly competitive. Bring competition into it because it is highly competitive. And it's become the thing to do at Mount Hebron High School. Actually, there are 2 things at Mount Hebron High School that have become the thing to do. One is take AP Economics. And the second is, if you can, compete in Econ Challenge because you have the opportunity to win a national championship. Teach the students, but then delegate responsibility, entrust responsibility to your older students. And then all I can say is practice, 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 test, test, test. And you can start with practice materials by going on the website of the Council for Economic Education. Just search for National Economics Challenge, and there are starter materials there. And of course, MCEE and I would be really willing to help you get started. So with that, Suderson, could you talk a bit about your experiences and what you've gotten out of the program as a student?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, Econ Challenge has been one of the most fulfilling parts of my high school experience by far for these last 3 years. It has been probably the crucible that has helped me grow the most over these last 3 years, improve myself both intellectually in terms of my habits when it comes to making sure I get studying in, making sure I get quality time practicing. And it's also been one of the areas where I made some of my best friends. I know my fellow team captain, Nick, and I don't think we would be nearly as great friends as we would be if it weren't for, spending these 3 years together, competing at these high stakes competitions. And so with that being the general gist of what I've gotten out of the program, it's also exposed me to econ in a way that's kept me motivated to keep going. Because the rewards from placing first in the state, from placing, top 6 in the nation or number 1 in the nation are very tangible, right? You can put that down on your application and say, hey, look, I was X person in X competition. And this is a prestigious competition with lots of people competing. So, that there's that component. But then once you've been drawn in with that first lure, right? Once you've realized that, yes, this is something I can definitely get tangible benefit out of. Then as you keep progressing, and I've seen this with a lot of my friends, not all of them, to be fair, but a vast majority of them, they start to really fall in love with the subject, right? They start to see the intricacies of the subject and see how amazing it is. Like I remember, comparative advantage really got me at first because it's a really non-intuitive concept, right? And so things like that generally draw you into the world of econ. And so that has snowballed to the point where now, I listen to economics podcasts. I read like a Planet Money newsletter. There are other things and I read The Economist and stuff like that. I've actually gotten really interested in the subject itself. And Econ Challenge has been that gateway to go from back in the beginning of sophomore year where I knew absolutely nothing about econ, nothing whatsoever, to getting here now where I've competed at the national level 3 times and been to the international level for econ and actually been involved in the world of econ. And actually, that's what I'm planning on doing in college, which I would not have imagined before I participated in Econ Challenge, gotten in the club with Mr. Prime and all my seniors and fellow students. So yeah, it is no understatement to say that Econ Challenge has changed my life. And that is in no small part due to having a culture in the club that is competitive, but that really pushes you to be the best that you can be. And having a teacher that cares so much, that actually cares about helping their students be the best that they can be, that cares about the subject, and that enthusiasm is infectious. So I mean, to any teachers out there, from a student's perspective, if you are really enthusiastic about the subject, if it is genuine, and you can clearly see that this is something that the teacher cares about, that the teacher really has a connection with, then as a student, it makes you want to invest more yourself. Right, you clearly see that from the perspective of someone who is an outsider, right, just coming into the club, and you see this teacher go on and on about Adam Smith and Dave Ricardo and comparative advantage and international trade, et cetera, you see that this is something that people care about, and this is something that I want to give a try, right? And it turns out I really care about it too. So, yeah, that's just a tidbit about my experience with Econ Challenge.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I know I've seen you a number of times this past couple months, and I always enjoy hearing what you have to say. It's 9:20, and I want to give people an opportunity to take a break, especially if they're going to the next session. I put the link for the next session in the chat. It's everything you always want to know about cyber currency. I have actually been to that session before. It's very well done. And the other thing I put in the chat is to be eligible for the $50 gift card, you have to attend 2 sessions today, and one of them is this session. So what you need to do is email Dawn Baker and tell her that you attended this session. Unfortunately, we can't tell from the Zoom attendance everybody's names because your name might not be listed there. So so we would ask that you do that. We've run out of time, so I haven't had a chance to go through some of the MCEE resources, but I do encourage you, if you have not done so already, to create an account with MCEE, and then you can have access to stock market game resources, as well as information about Econ Challenge, Econ lesson plans, all kinds of resources.